Hey everybody, welcome to Alaska Raceway Parks Tuesday Track Talk. I'm your host, Michelle, and as promised, I have a special guest with me today. Before we get started with that, I wanted to do a couple little housekeeping things. We are having a rules meeting day on Saturday, October 15th. So far, Bomber Class is the only one who has signed up for that. So if you are interested in talking about rules for 2023, I need you to contact me and let me know. Otherwise, the banquet happened on Saturday. It was fantastic. If you missed it, you totally missed out on a great party. Tripwire was fantastic. We were there until well after 2 o'clock in the morning. So it was a good time, and I really enjoyed seeing everybody. If you have your RV in the camping spots out at the racetrack, be sure to take those out because the season's at the end. Or if you want to store them for winter storage, then just be in touch and we'll make arrangements for that. We got a couple people tuning in. Hey, Eric, there you are. I am going to bring on camera my good friend, Ralph Sheheen, who is the president of Speed Sport. He's been a TV announcer for all things. Look at all those helmets and stuff in your background for many, many, many years, and is starting some new adventures this year too. But I wanted to bring Ralph on and talk about a subject that you guys should all be very familiar with. But in case you're not, we're going to let you know. So hi, Ralph.
Hey, Michelle, how are you?
Fabulous.
It's great to see you. Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, I really appreciate you being here. I wanted to talk to people about RPM because it is election season. We have a couple offices available in our state, and I'm sure in states across the country. And I wanted to let people know a little bit about this and why it's important to us. So if you wouldn't mind just kind of giving people kind of a history and why it's important to motorsports, I would super appreciate it.
Yeah, sure, no problem. And you're right. The RPM Act is massively important for racers and race fans, the racing industry around the country. Everybody will be impacted by this if we don't get the RPM Act passed. Now, here's what happened. The EPA a couple of years ago buried in a massive bit of legislation some wording that said any vehicle, this is very important, any vehicle with a VIN number. That means basically any vehicle straight off the production line. Car, motorcycle, watercraft, power sports, you name it. Any vehicle off the production line with a VIN number could not be modified for racing. Think about that. You just talked about your Bomber Class. All those street stocks, they all have a VIN number on them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't go racing anymore. Drag strip, I know you've got one. Think of how many categories you have that run down your quarter mile with a VIN number in them. Any NHRA national event, basically the entire sportsman category just about would be wiped out.
Mm-hmm.
Motorcycle racing, forget about it. Everything's got a VIN number except for MotoGP.
Yep.
So, I mean, this is going to be a serious, serious problem if we don't catch it and correct it. So how do we do that? We do that with the RPM Act. What happened was the folks at SEMA, what's called SEMA PAC, that's their lobbying arm, kind of handles the political side of all things. One of their guys on his lunch break, eating a sandwich, flipping through this new bit of legislation, spotted this in a paragraph buried in there, and red flags went up immediately, threw down the sandwich, went running back inside and said, hey, we got a problem. And boy, did we ever. So they got together and wrote up some legislation with a couple of senators, and it's called the RPM Act. And ever since, they've been trying to get it through Congress, which, as you know, is a massive, massive undertaking. They've been close a handful of times to getting it through, and then there'd be a major election. Everything turns over, and when that happens, you're basically back to zero, starting all over again, and you begin the process once again. We're close one more time. We're right there. But what we need is we need everybody who listens to your show, everybody who comes out to your racetrack who has an interest in racing, to reach out to their local politicians and say, hey, whatever you can do to influence this RPM Act, we need you to do it. Because if you don't, not only do we not get to go racing, your racetracks go away. Your speed shops go away. Your race fans have nothing to do. All the stuff that they're passionate about doing going to the races and hanging out with their families and friends. I know your whole family has made their life in and around racing. Mine has too. How many people that come out to your racetrack are the same way as you and me?
Yeah,
Everything
it's
is
a lot.
centered around racing, right? Majority of them. They don't necessarily go to season tickets at a football game. They don't go to the opera. They go racing. That's what they do, right? That would come to a screeching halt if the RPM Act doesn't get through. So I can't stress enough how important it is to go to SEMA.org. Please write this down, folks. SEMA.org. Very simple. You can always reach back out to Michelle. She'll let you know. SEMA.org. When you go to that website, it opens up, and right there is a very simple to fill out email. Basically, all you do is you put your name and your address in, and it finds who your representatives are. And there's a form letter that says, hey, this is what I need you to do to support the RPM Act. And boom, it's sent. So all you're doing is putting in your name and your address. SEMA handles the rest of it. Nobody's going to call you. You're not going to get junk spam email. It's the easiest way to find out who represents you and get this form letter directly to them. Now, I've had an opportunity to go speak in front of Congress about this, and I've had an opportunity to speak with quite a few representatives about this. But they all have said, squeaky wheel gets the grease. The more we can impact them by flooding their inboxes with these letters, letting them know that we want this, the more they'll listen. So please don't brush this off. Take 2 minutes, SEMA.org, name, address, hit send, and you're good.
Yep. Yeah. And we're in the middle of getting a whole new Congress, like everybody in our state is getting changed over. And so the voting for that is coming up in November. We have had one candidate, Nick Begich, has been out to the track multiple times this summer. I did take him aside while he was in the tower, and I was like, hey, when you get elected, this is what I need you to focus on for me, on top of everything else. But I am going to reach out to our other candidates for office. I think I know where a few of them stand, but I want to make sure that I have all that stuff correct, and then I'll throw it out on our social media so people know who, if the candidate you're voting for is supporting the racetrack and the racing industry or not. And if they're not, then maybe you should think about that. I'm not going to tell you how to vote, but
it's huge. Here in North Carolina, where I live, racing impacts the state of North Carolina with $6 billion a year. $6 billion a year. This RPM Act goes through, we save that. It doesn't, we lose $6 billion worth of industry. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's really, really huge. And if people want more information, obviously you can go to SEMA.org. There's more information on PRI's website, performanceracing.com. Definitely reach out to me if you've got specific questions that you can't find. I'll try to see if I can figure out answers. Probably be knocking on, sending you emails and asking you about it, but it's a really big thing for our industry and for our way of life, and I want to make sure everybody knows about it.
Well, and that's the frightening thing, how many people don't know. And I can't tell you how many people I've talked to in the racing world who are titans of the industry, if you will, massive racetrack owners and operators and promoters, no clue that their entire facility would be wiped out if this doesn't go through, because they just haven't heard about it.
Yep. Awesome. Well, let's see here. If I have any comments, I don't have any questions or anything like that over on the other side. And you just launched a new adventure. Is that right? Is that what I saw on your Instagram?
Yeah. So as you probably know, because I know you're a big Supercross fan, for 15 years, I was the play-by-play voice of Monster Energy AMA Supercross, an FIM World Championship. That's the key phrase right there. Well, I stopped doing that about 2 years ago. There were some changes made at NBC, and Jeff Emig and myself were both out. So for 2 years now, I haven't been calling Supercross. Well, the folks at Feld held on to that World Championship tag. They had to license that with the FIM, the International Federation that handles all things on two wheels. Well, after the pandemic, they decided not to renew that. They didn't think it was that important, so they let it go. So now it's strictly an AMA championship here in the U.S. So all you will get is that #1 plate. You don't get the FIM medal and the big banquet at the end of the year where they would be feted with the MotoGP champion and World Superbike champion and so forth and so on. When that happened, a group of guys out of Australia got together, formed SX Global, got a hold of the FIM and said, we want to pay to license the World Championship. We're going to put a tour together. And they have, and it's amazing. It is going to be a true World Championship, just like MotoGP and Formula One. It's going to go around the globe. It's going to air on regular TV. I can't tell you who yet because I'm sworn to secrecy on that. But that's going to be announced here any day. Everybody will be happy. Everybody will be able to get it. And you'll be able to watch. And Jeff Emig and I are back in the broadcast booth as play-by-play and color talent to call the races. And we leave a week from today to go to Cardiff, Wales for the first event. We'll be over there. The race will be a week from Saturday in Wales. Come home from Wales, go down to Daytona for Biketoberfest, do the last 2 rounds of the American Flat Track Championship for FS1, finish that off on Sunday after the races. The races will be Friday and Saturday. Sunday, go to Orlando, fly Orlando to LA, change planes, LA to Hong Kong, Hong Kong to Melbourne, Australia for round 2.
Wow. I thought my travel schedule was hectic. So I'm sorry I'm going to miss you next week in North Carolina, but I do appreciate, again, this opportunity for you to get out and help our viewers understand why RPM is important and why voting this year is especially important. I will see you in sometime this fall for sure at PRI, definitely maybe at Warpa or one of the other things, but I look forward to seeing you back up on TV and watching all the motorcycle racing.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, we're really looking forward to it. What I really need to do is have an excuse to get up to Alaska Raceway Park.
Right? We could do a race up here.
Yeah. That would be part of a world championship.
Right? Yeah.
I like it.
Let's put that together.
I'll mention it to him when I'm in Wales.
Right. Sounds good. Awesome. Well, thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. Be sure to go to SEMA.org, send a message to everybody, let them know that this is important to us. We are a lot of people. I know we're a lot of really busy people, but we need to make the time to make this happen so that those people that are working for us can get their job done right. Thank you again, Ralph. And for those of you that I won't see over the weekend, I'll see you right here next week on Alaska Raceway Park's Tuesday Track Talk.
Michelle, thanks so much for having me on. Thanks, everybody.